I will call the meeting to order. Roll call, please. Here.
Mr. Adline. Here. Mr. Greenfield.
Here.
Mr. Brady.
Here.
Mr. McQueen. Here. Mr. Rivera.
Here.
Mr. Barrett.
Here. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Bernardsville News and Courier News, filed with the municipal clerk and posted on the municipal bulletin board on December 27th, 2021. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a number of presentations. Our first one is, I'm honored to present our new chief, who's going to get sworn in, John Remian. I'm sure you're all here and you all know him, but just for those who don't, he started with us in 1997 as a patrolman. So he's been a detective, a sergeant, operations lieutenant, patrol lieutenant, I mean, and then captain. He has been such an asset to our police force. We always have depended on him. He's just been a real rock. And I see we have a couple of former chiefs here. I see Chief Sharetta out there and Chief Valentine. Yes, there they are. Okay. And what would you come up and introduce your family to us?
Sure. Didn't expect that. Yeah. My wife Jennifer, my daughter Sophia, my daughter Nicolette, my son Jake, and my mother, my sister, my nephew Sean, and my brother-in-law Patrick.
Wonderful. Wow, thanks.
And in the back row, I have my in-laws. I also have close friends with that.
Well, making this decision was one of the easiest decisions I think we've ever done. There wasn't even a question who was going to be our next chief. So it was just we're just thrilled. That's all I can say.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think we all agree. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Making this official, and then photos.
Yep.
Come on out.
Yeah, there you go.
These will go on a good spot.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And raise the right. Recite this. I, John Remian, do solemnly swear
I, John Remian, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of New Jersey,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the government established in the United States
and to the government established in the United States
and in this state under the authority of the people,
and in this state under the authority of the people,
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of chief of police
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of chief of police
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my abilities,
and that I will not use my office to grant preferential treatment
and that I will not use my office to grant preferential treatment, not as a tongue tire,
nor to see personal gain, favor, or advantage
nor to seek personal gain, favor, or advantage,
not available to the general public, so help me God.
not available to the general public, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Well, that's it. Thank you.
I don't, do you guys want to take a minute and do some pictures? Leave it up to you.
It's almost, yeah. If you want it, I mean, it's whatever you want to do.
Sure.
Let's grab a picture. Yeah.
Family.
I'd like to take one with the guys too, if I can, real quick. I don't know how I can do it. Maybe I can just go to the back of the room with me. Or actually one. Why don't you bring them up? Yeah, bring you guys up here. We'll clear out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what, Jeff, we might be. I don't need to make. We're going.
It's gonna be exciting. It's a lot. Yeah. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Oh, that's good.
All that.
That's right. Monday, fifth. Monday,
Move along. An Eagle Scout project. Love Eagle Scout projects. Come on up.
Where would you like me to present?
I think there's an example.
Tom, that you want. They're doing quite a now.
All right.
All right.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Max Bozak. I'm from Troop 150. I go to school here in Bernardsville at BHS. And I'm here to ask for the approval of my Eagle Scout project. So the project entails cutting down bamboo at the polo grounds. So I'm working with the Audubon Society and Mr. Anderson, who's cut down a similar area before. And so he's helped me get equipment, and he's helped me along so far with measuring and going over materials that I need, and any other equipment, which has been really fantastic. And so I want to also talk about why this project is important and why I think why this is important to me as well. And so it's a lot about protecting the environment, which a big part of that is getting rid of invasive species. And bamboo is an invasive species, which is because it's from a foreign country, and invasive species, they don't allow natural ecosystems to operate the way they normally should. So that means that not just plants that are affected, but also animals. And bamboo has a very corruptive root system that grows extensively and very quickly. Thankfully, the bamboo forest that I will be dealing with has not grown to such an extent, but I still find that it will be an important step towards an overall better environment and getting rid of invasive species in general in Bernardsville. And so moving forward, once I get this approved, I hope I will be sending my project to final review with the Boy Scouts. And then I hope to begin planning out dates with my troop and Mr. Anderson for hopefully by January. And that's about it. Thank you for your consideration for this. And do you have any questions?
Max, how much of the bamboo are you gonna remove?
I hope to remove all of it.
All of it? Wow.
Yeah, good for you. It just keeps spreading, and that's the problem with bamboo, it takes over. So I think that'll really be helpful in us being able to identify the trailhead there, which is difficult to find because of the bamboo. So I think that's a great project. We all good with this?
Yeah.
We all do.
Thank you.
Would I be able to get a document I have signed at some point tonight?
Sure.
And could I now be great or?
So it's so bad. I think there's something else
Deal.
that goes along with it. So, I have a middle schooler. So if you remove the bamboo, I think you need to rename the forest. So can you work with Max to give it, it's no longer going to be the bamboo forest?
Oh, good idea.
Yeah.
So if you remove it, bring a name.
We're also looking to have another Eagle Scout project to put a new species there that's native species as a piggyback project. So we have a lot of scouts that are coming up for Eagle. So we're hoping to do that so that this way we can then put some information there too about what took place there, and then, you know, educate people about invasive species versus native species, and, you know, hopefully help with that.
Wonderful idea. So you have to fundraise, guys.
Yeah. If you like me. to go with that.
I don't think it matters, and it does say, our attorney here, we understand any fundraising we conduct will be in our name.
Yes.
That's, we can do that.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. I just have to, you know, I never do
Yeah.
anything without the attorney. It's something we have been talking about for a long time. But now we had to start, so thank you for
Good luck.
doing that.
Good luck.
Courtney, good to see you.
Good, that's,
Thank
thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right, next we have Somerset County Hill Hill Road Radio Tower. So we have, Greg Pasquale.
David Frontline.
Good evening. On the counter.
Yeah.
Is that viewable from, the Allen? I don't know.
You want to move it or you want
For our benefit?
to, you want us to put it someplace else?
I don't think that,
I think we
even
could,
if it could focus on it, I don't think. that-
It's not
Okay.
gonna be, it's not gonna show up. Okay,
Okay.
well, we just, so we.
you want to use it to.
As a visual, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a PDF or something you can send after.
Yeah, we do, and I think you're getting a hard copy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great presentation. Thank you very much. It's gonna be a long night, so you guys are more than welcome to stay, but don't feel obligated.
Yeah.
Let's go over here. Yeah. Okay, you guys should go.
And take a cookie.
I want to get started on the band.
Need a good night's sleep.
So, my name is Greg Pasquale. I'm with the law firm of Schaefer, Shane Jallo, just down the street here in Bernardsville. We represent the county of Somerset. I want to introduce to you David Frauenheim, who's the Director of Communications for Somerset County. We're proposing to put a new radio tower on Hill Hill. We'll explain the details.
Good evening, David Frontline. I've been with Somerset County for 33 years in the 911 center. And I know this radio communications project has been around almost as long as I've been working for the county. Hill Hill, at the entrance to the municipal dump, as we call it, has always been a bright spot for us, perfect location to cover a lot of peaks and valleys in Bernardsville. Does it cover all of Bernardsville? No. Probably one or two more sites to cover the whole borough of Bernardsville. But Hill Hill gives us a head start, being that there's a tower there already. Municipal owns a three-legged tower, probably, I think it's about 70 feet, 75 feet. Somerset County is coming in to propose that we enlarge that tower, take that one down, enlarge it, expand the footprint a little bit, move it away from the fence line with Bernards Township. Right now it's straddling. We want to make sure everything's on, excuse me, Bernardsville side. So Somerset County would come in, build the tower, public safety only, no cell, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile. There is a FirstNet network out there that is for public safety. we would be in talks with them if they wanted to enhance their coverage. But what this would allow for police, fire, and EMS, more radio coverage. Currently, Bernardsville is struggling with radio coverage, and we just want to come in and enhance that. It does help Somerset County. Excuse me, I had a cough. With recycling, transportation, the buses, recycling trucks, DPW when plowing, they would utilize the same radio system on this tower. We're looking at 150 to 175 feet, so it will be taller. I think it's at 70. I don't have the exact measurements on it.
It's 100 feet tall.
We would also expand, right now, there's a wood shed that Burnsville houses their radio equipment. We would come in with a radio shelter and house Somerset County equipment with the Burnsville equipment. Burnsville equipment would be moved from the current tower to the new tower.
So provide better coverage for Burnsville.
Absolutely. We are looking to enhance Burnsville's coverage. Right now, the police department is tying their current system to our system to enhance coverage. They have coverage on the low band side, and then they cross band it to our ultra high system. And the fire and EMS are currently on our system, not utilizing the police system. So we are trying to expand our footprint to allow for fire and EMS and even police, when we can show that we have good coverage throughout the municipality, that they can take their system offline and just use the county system if they wish to.
What's the percent of coverage today versus what is expected after this?
Right now, the current coverage into Bernardsville is a tower at Bernards Police Headquarters. The next closest tower is in Bedminster on the Bridgewater border, right on 78 Overlook. Other than that, we have nothing up north.
I was just gonna ask, you mentioned no cell tower. Is there a reason why you wouldn't want to include cellular on the tower, since if we were putting a tower up, wouldn't it make sense to have as much on one as opposed to multiple?
So my idea, my marching orders were to enhance public safety coverage. I'm not in it to make money.
Okay.
That would come up to you and the commissioners.
Would it be possible if it would improve coverage for Verizon, AT&T, or anybody else, for them to be on this tower, or is that, like, I don't know anything about that?
I guess you're asking who owns the tower once it's built.
Well, Somerset County would build the tower, own the tower, maintain the tower and the equipment. Bernardsville is, as they are now, responsible for the mobile radios and the portable radios. But we would maintain the infrastructure.
Could we get Verizon or AT&T on that tower? Would we be able to
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't answer that. I would think that would be between you, the council, and the
Technical
commissioners.
perspective,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's a technical.
Technically, do you think it's possible?
Yes, a brand new tower, there'll be plenty of room on the tower.
Okay, so it's not like we have to build a second tower next to it if
Nope.
we wanted to.
Yeah.
You mentioned that this will, because I know that the whole radio system's been a discussion for a decade. You mentioned this will partially solve the problem. How many more towers does Somerset County think we need to completely solve the problem?
The engineers have determined that a 3-site solution, but we do have the Bernards covering into Jockey Hollow a little bit. We would still need something on the western P-PAC Chester border coming back. And so it's always been a 3-site solution. We would have to see how the Bernards site would play into that 3-site solution. So I guess the good answer it might take 2 more within Bernardsville to cover Bernardsville
Is
entirely.
that project currently in design and works and conversation, or?
In theory, I wouldn't want to mention where they're at until we have approval. Yeah,
So you wouldn't want to put them on the border of, in another town on the border.
we try. We've been working with Morris County
Yeah.
to see if we can piggyback off them. And we're looking at a site off 206 in Chester, but that's still in the works.
Was this discussed at all with PD? I know the chief is no longer here.
Yes, sir. It was discussed with Chief Valentine, and Chief Rennie is also aware.
Is there an opinion?
So it will improve our low band radio coverage, they will be a little bit higher. But also at the same time, it was covered with the county challenge with some better reception. And our, not in the peaks and valleys, we know is an issue, but in the school area, business district. And public.
So it sounds like that's an affirmative opinion.
What's the timing on this? When would you break ground? and How long would it take to construct?
We would like to do it first quarter 2023, depending on the weather.
And how long?
It's probably a 3-month process.
Did I hear that it's 100 feet higher? Did I hear 70 to 170?
Your current tower is about 70, 75 feet. Yes.
700 feet.
And we're looking to go 150 to 160.
Yeah.
So
Is there any screening that's used on the, I've seen towers that look like trees, is it screened at all, or is it just a?
it will not. It's a 3-legged lattice antenna. Same as what's currently there, but obviously a wider footprint.
Yeah, I see one in the back, you wanted to comment on.
I mean, we've actually been working on this project, as Director Frohnheim said, for 10+ years. What wasn't discussed was our original site was actually, I believe, 50 to 60 feet higher, but closer to residents. So the county has come back down to the bottom of the hill versus the top of Hill. So when you're talking about that height, the original tower proposed was shorter because of its location. I mean, they went so far last time to drill and do all the test holes and do everything. And the reason that everyone is being very cautious about how this is proposed is because we had a council member at that point who kept saying he wanted to put cell on it for use. It got a huge public outcry. It got crushed because of cellular. It's a public safety issue. I really have a problem. You can ask Bob Graham. We had a fire at his house. We literally have no radio communications in about 40 to 50% of this town within the residences. Where our pagers, I can be sitting right here. So everyone talks about the whistle. Everyone talks about all these other things. My pager won't even go off right here in the center of town. I can't key a portable radio at my own firehouse. I literally have to get in a vehicle and go to a radio that's 10 times more powerful to reach communications. So when we're talking public safety, you have volunteers that are risking their lives going into burning buildings that have zero radio communications with the county or the police department on the systems we're on. So that was the biggest thing for me as fire chief, was the safety of my men and the ability to get additional resources. So think about this, we get to a scene, I'm the chief, I get out of the truck, I have a portable radio on me. I get in the house is on fire, I need to call for help. Do you know I have to leave that house? And in several cases on Washington Corner Road, to a particular, I had to drive to the end of the driveway to get a radio signal at the end of the driveway to call mutual aid for a house on fire. So when we're talking communication, we're talking everything from my firefighter who's inside fighting the fire to the EMT who's calling for additional help because they're doing CPR on a patient in the house. So I mean, this is something that's critical to the infrastructure for emergency services in Bernardsville. And it's been something that I've been a champion of for previous 10 years I've been a chief.
And Chief, that's extremely helpful, and thank you for advocating for that and providing the details. Just to clarify one thing you said, so it sounds like we purposely moved it away from residents and therefore made it higher, but there was a purposeful move away from the residential area, which is why we had to have it a little bit lower and extended. Is
That is correct.
Okay.
Do we know how tall approximately the trees are in that area? Is it even going to extend above the tree line? I can't imagine.
It would have to,
It's a relatively forested area.
it would have to be above the tree line just to get line of sight.
I guess what I'm saying is its location is resident friendly. I mean, you'd have to be in a helicopter to see it.
Correct. You don't have anyone, you have, yes, the cemetery, the landfill,
Yes.
the solar field. The only other residents are the ones up on Wisteria, 2 or 3 residents that are on Wisteria.
Yeah,
I think it's in the best place possible. I just want to verify, because I know that the whole duplication of communication in this town has been an issue in the conversation. This takes the first step to allowing us to deduplicate what is a very complicated communication system, correct?
That is correct.
Correct. So I'm all for it.
Will this require different radios? I mean, we've been hearing about upgrades to the radios, so.
So this, it's a dual system. The fire department's on one system. Police department's currently on a 700 system. This power will take care of both of that. But when the fire department's radios are at end of life, they can go to the 700 system with the police, and it would be the same cost for a radio.
And even better, the cost being picked up by the county?
Not the report, the tower, just the tower.
No, just the tower.
Yeah.
Just the tower.
Just the tower. And I'm sorry.
Regarding costs, in our capital budget, we do have the shed replacement.
Yes.
Which would now be redirected to other,
Right.
Great.
So what do you need from us?
We need a resolution authorizing the placement of a new tower, and we'll need a memorandum of understanding regarding the equipment that needs to go on.
Do we have a resolution number?
Well,
yeah, the next
meeting.
we have an agreement for 8 years. We have agreements of.
Right.
We follow that, we can have it.
Everybody.
And if we have any follow-up questions, this meeting, we can get in contact.
Calls back,
Yeah.
Jack over.
I assume so, yeah.
We'll have it for next meeting, we'll have a resolution, proving it and the building fund.
Thank you.
Not a memorandum.
Glenn, what was the issue with the cell being added, like why?
So before everyone, I believe on the current council was here, there was a lawsuit against Verizon for a radio or for a cellular tower on Washington Corner Road by Verizon. And when it was very hot, there was a whole public group that was together, and they came in and they didn't have a problem with public safety per se. They had a problem with the fact that it was cellular. And there was a councilman at that point who kept advocating that it had to be built to cellular spec and it had to be available to cellular companies. And it just got to be where it was going to be a long planning board process for the county. It was going to be a lot of legal fees. It was going to be a lot of other stuff. So that's why I came to the council, I believe it was 4 or 5 years ago, asking for the ordinance to be more of a cursory review versus full planning board review for public safety.
I think we're all good.
Wait, let's get Jack.
Jack,
Yes.
yeah, back in 2005 and then in 2019, the council dealt with municipal projects. And they held that they didn't have to go to the board of adjustment for use variances, but they did have to go to the planning board, the site plan approval. They specifically exempted public safety towers, communications towers.
Can we do the resolution now and then the MOA next time?
Or pending successful approval by you?
He
I'd
doesn't-
rather do it next time.
Doesn't seem like it's a
It's
lot.
later to do.
They're doing it in Q1. Okay.
I mean, you can adopt a motion tonight with the intent to adopt a resolution to this, but I'd rather have a resolution.
That's fine.
Next
We're
time.
gonna have a resolution,
Yeah.
we're gonna have a meeting in between the resolution. or-
No, that's what we're.
No, that's fine. Resolution form.
Okay.
We can adopt it, you know.
Yes,
So, yeah, we can brought up.
Yeah, and like I said, we've got things in the past. but-
yeah,
Okay.
all right, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
These are not my business on the block, things like this.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. All right, we have minutes to approve from October 11th and October 24th. Motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Suppose? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, we're good. All right. It is now time for a public session. So if anyone from the public would like to be heard, this is a time for the public to make comments. It is not a time for debate. If you have something you really want to discuss, the administrator or myself would be happy to meet with you in another time. But we'd love to just hear your comments or statements, and please give us your name and address when you come up. There's an X on the floor there so that the people on Zoom can see you as well. And limit your comments to 3 minutes. I think Anthony has the timer. So anyone want to come up and speak?
John Donnie, 16 South Street.
And I just wanted, I was talking to Diane earlier, wanted to show up tonight and give a push for hopefully the expeditious surveying of 271, Brook and the 251 Claremont and Peters Track property, because, twice now, in the last year, done trails and only to find out they colored upside the lines. So if we get, no one need to stay, we get the volunteers want to do it, but no one wants to invest the time if they, see the tape across the entrance. So I know it's on the to-do list, but I'm just here to be a bit of a gadfly and kind of give it a push, get some surveying done, so we get the, the hedge trimmers out and start making a path from our property.
Okay, thanks, John.
Sure. Is it currently in?
Yeah, I think it's already on in Public Works, I believe, it's talking about it. Welcome.
Hi,
This is our new librarian.
oh, I'm Mary Fran Daly. I live in Clinton, but I'm here from 1 Anderson Hill Road from your library. And I just wanted to introduce myself. I've been here not quite a month. And it's been a pleasure getting to know your community, your library community, your wider community. And I've already met some of you, and I just want you to know that, like the library's doors, my doors are always open to hear what you need to know about the town's needs. So thank you very much for letting me come on in here, and I look forward to meeting the rest of you.
Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Mark Walden, 40 Liberty Road. I'd just like to commend everybody. It seems like we're really getting some push on some of the items from the master plan that have come up over the last couple of years, and with the sports fields and things like that. And I see a couple things on the agenda today. The only thing that I'm asking is, or trying to find out is, we have a master plan for the town that was written up. Do we have a plan, or is a plan being worked on for that facility, the polo grounds and upper and lower Evancal as a whole? I see a lot of different small pieces being done, but I haven't been able to find what our view of that is going to be in, say, 10 years.
Speaking of.
No, so again, it's really, I'm just asking, and if there is one, that's great, but if we can organize it so that we're not redoing things or tearing stuff out that we just put in, would make more sense, just on a planning standpoint. So that was the only comment.
Regina,
So, let's
you got
Want me to go?
Yeah.
It's a great point, and actually, because we have a plan, it's a little frustrating because we know there's things we can do now that we probably shouldn't, so we won't. So for example, we're sitting on approval to do the trail at the polo grounds, but the plan calls for the pavilion and it calls for lighting, which means we have to run a lot of utilities and then we have to dig up that trail. So the plan was a great investment because we know where things need to go in the future. And therefore we're doing things very methodically. We are installing conduit and utilities, even though we may not necessarily be buying the stanchions and things like that now, but we'll be ready to do it down the road.
Yeah, and they're actually, we do have a plan, and we're trying to do it in phases.
Is there somewhere where the plan of that, there's supposed to be the road, like a ring around polo, right? That goes around the football field and around lower
The
polo.
walking path.
I haven't been able to find it.
Oh, you know what, I don't think that was in the plan because we were already working on it, we already had approved it and had it all, we had bid it and.
Yeah, so I just want to set some expectations though.
Oh, no, trust me, my expectations are pretty low. You can ask Jack.
The plan was laid out by the, right? And I'm a planner, so I know what we do. We lay out concepts for where things might go, but they're not precise, right? And, they don't always take into account specific state regulations and, so things occur in ways that didn't show up on the original plan. The committees varies, the rec committee or the council or a facilities committee might make some changes that make more sense, because really the plan was just to say what's a priority. And what are we lacking in the community that we need? It's not that detailed exactly where to go.
Right, okay, yeah, no, I'm just saying, I was asked by a few different people to look at a couple different pieces to see how they tie together. I can't find the pieces to review.
More efficient if just you and I.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Well, and Tom, so this is Mark, you know, the gentleman that you and I have talked about a bunch of times about the whole tower situation, the light situation. So, you know, we were talking the other day about lighting. Would love his input on the lighting concept.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Mark.
You come and you get a job, man.
Would anyone else like to be heard?
Am I able to speak?
You are. We can hear you. We can see your hand.
Everybody can see me? Are we good? Is this cool? Okay, awesome. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to do a final approval and do some due diligence for the parade route. I realized that we hadn't met and done that sooner. So I just wanted to connect with council. I have a map. I don't know if I can share my screen so that there's a visual, or if you want me to just explain it.
Explain it.
Explain it. Okay, great. Step off would be at 6 p.m. in front of the Bernardsville Center on Route 202. We would go down just shy of a half a mile southbound to Church Street, make a right on Church Street, go up Church to finish up at the high school. It is roughly the same exact distance as previous years. It's just a little bit more of a prominent location on 202. Paperwork has been filed with the state. Our police are awesome as usual and are on board. I know Tim is there. I saw him, so he can answer any additional questions if you have them. So if all here are okay with that, then we can go ahead and make that work. We can have a cheesesteak later, kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking
Yes,
forward-
cool. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you Saturday.
You weren't sure if this was the right time? or-
Yeah, it's one of the items for business, but I guess we can take this out.
You're the Jersey drone. Are you the drone guy?
No, we're the new residents at 477 Mine Brook.
Welcome.
No drones. I'm Al. This is my wife, nice to meet you. The new residents, we just got your welcome letter about a week ago, so thank you for that. Married earlier this year, and we've been searching for a home during the phase of the market and came across this beautiful property in Bernardsville, so looking forward to living here and being part of the town. The new item of business was the rezoning of 477 Mine Brook. Beautiful property, but unfortunately it falls in two zones, the lot. It's an R1 and an R2 zone. While we were doing due diligence, the zoning officer noted that it's actually preferred for a lot to be one zone, so they submitted a request on our behalf. I just want to note Mr. Zabo, the planner's memo, he opined that there would be no significant impact to the existing zoning patterns by amending the zoning line, and actually cites some benefits in doing so. Most importantly, in our view, it's the environmental impact. You know, the R1 zone currently is cleared and R2 is heavily wooded. So if we were to build an R2, we would have to take down a significant amount of trees, which we would not like to do so. I think the planning board also had a few concerns during their meeting. One of them being further use of this lot. And their question was, you know, do the builders or the developers plan to subdivide this in the future? And in looking through their notes, we looked back and found a resolution from 1988 when the subdivision was first done. There's actually a deed restriction preventing further subdivision. So I think the planning board was unaware of that when they made the recommendation. So that would be helpful information to consider. Another item, I think it'd be much easier if anyone standing on the lot, you know, were to see this, but there's actually utility lines running through R1 and R2, telephone wires and poles, to kind of prevent you from entering and doing construction into R2 very easily. R1 is
currently clear, flat, and ready to be put to work. If it could be rezoned to R2, so if I missed anything.
So can I ask, were you able, so I actually said on the planning board, I was driving back to
Right.
Philadelphia during that little portion.
We were unable to attend it.
You were unable to attend.
So we hadn't closed yet. We weren't the owners. We didn't know if there was a place to speak up. We were still in the due diligence phase. I wish we did attend because watching the meeting, I was like, oh.
Jack, as a matter of procedure, if it's, is it possible to get it back to the planning board so the new owners can see?
I would do that. I would refer it back to the planning board with the additional information with respect to the deed restriction.
And, you know, knowing that, I don't want to speak for the planning board, but there may be solutions in regards to additional deed restrictions. That if the owner, because there was no one speaking on behalf of that property.
They did mention the potential of conservation, where are these,
So, it is on tonight's agenda. So, I do sit on the planning board. If it's okay with the committee, I'd like to send it back there, but we can deal with that when it gets on tonight's agenda. That way you guys would have the opportunity to speak on behalf of your property.
It's also, it's R5 and it's R4, not R1 and 2. You sure? That's what the paperwork we have said.
So I think the wrong address was listed on the agenda.
Oh, that's possible.
Yeah, no, it's R1 and R2, like in Johnson's report.
Okay, because according to the information that we have, it's 5 and 4.
Yeah. I think John Jacob has, maybe there's one, and two, R1 and R2.
It might be the wrong address on the agenda, so 447 maybe?
So would you like me to move that back? to the planning-
Yeah.
So it just said 447. It says 447.
Yeah, so it's not the wrong.
It's 477.
Correct.
Okay, so the information that we have is on the wrong property then?
No,
The
the
map?
letter says 477-1.
But the other, not the letter, I'm talking, look after the letter,
The supplemental materials.
the supplemental materials, it says on page 83,
The aerial photo?
no, the map.
So I believe this was represented by an attorney. Was that your attorney or the seller's attorney?
Which part?
At the planning board.
No, it was actually, it was a billing for the plan from Mr. Zabel. Brendan, no.
Nonetheless, I'm gonna move it back there.
Yeah.
Makes sense to move it back. Let's just move it back.
I'm fine.
Can I move that now, Jack?
Yes.
Yep. You understand why we're sending it back?
Kind of, I mean,
Maybe check.
I guess it was their recommendation.
It's very important whenever we have planning discussions, especially since it's your own personal property, right, that I'm guessing you just took. Typically,
Yeah.
in very often, this committee takes the recommendations of planning board and that decision.
Oh, it does say 1 and 2.
Uh,
Yeah, come on.
Since you didn't have the opportunity to speak, I'd like to give you that opportunity to speak.
I appreciate that, and that's why we wanted to come tonight.
Yeah, so I'm glad you came, because to be honest, we would have waved magic wand at this and not even thought twice about it.
I'm very happy we came.
So,
Yeah.
you
I
have,
was gonna talk.
Right?
so I'll make a motion to move it back to the planning board.
Yes.
So have a second?
Second.
Voice vote is fine. Voice vote is fine, Anthony?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You are very much the mayor with,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good evening.
Nice to see you.
thank you.
Okay, so that was actually 10A on our agenda.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyone else in the public wish to be heard? Anybody online?
I can't figure it out.
Karen,
Yes, hello. Thank you, Council. I wanted to be heard tonight on resolutions 222-231 and 233, which are the designs for the utilities for the pavilion and also contracting to do the architecture. I note that it hasn't gone out to bid. So I was wondering if there's any way that whether there were any instructions that council had given to the two contractors chosen by Doug Walker to do this work. Did you give them any feedback on what you wanted to see come out of the process? Because normally we would get a chance to see bid specs, but I don't know whether that's the case in this particular kind of transaction. So is it possible to find out what you've said? I'm sure you've had some thoughts, particularly about architecture over the course of all this time. And I could see Chad is like going to lose consciousness over it.
These are professional contracts in order to develop the specifications.
Okay.
We are.
So council will, this is to develop the specifications in order to go out to bid.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you choose these people to get you ready. So they'll help you to formulate the questions and the specifications that you want to pass along to people as time goes on. These aren't necessarily the people that are going to do the work.
Correct. So the architect, I'm sure no one's interested in the utility work, but the architect will come here to present concepts.
Yeah, I mean, but I was kind of interested in the utility work because I see that one of the bills that we're paying to Suburban was for $9,543. So some work has already been done, or some discussions have already taken place, one would think, for that money, because that's, you know, one tenth of what we're later going to pay. I know that somebody must have said something to somebody because we've already done some work.
That initial work was in order to come up with general estimates of what the cost would be, and then to, you know, give us some pretty, you know, detailed questions about when we do the spec, you know, can we investigate? They investigated would they be able to tap into the pool for some power. Like a lot of this preliminary investigation, knocking off big chunks of the boulder before fine tuning it. You know, what kind of heat do we want to the pavilion? You know,
Right. Exactly, because it is a long way to get there. So there's going to be significant cost to certain aspects of it for sure. So I think it's good to see if you can draw on the pool, et cetera. And that, you know, that makes sense. I just know that this is the biggest project we've taken on in some time on our own. You know, at this point, we haven't gone to county for it, like with the pickleball courts. And I just want to make sure that we, even though we've got money coming in from open space, that we're, you know, cognizant that the pennies don't last forever and other stuff will come up. So, you know, thank you for the clarification on where we are in the process. And just wanted to, you know, touch base about, it seems like it's incredibly early in the process, but just wanted to, you know, ask those questions and see whether our, you know, the council's feelings about town and that particular site that's so important have been conveyed or will be conveyed. Based on the things that we learned in all our surveys that people wanted.
Yeah, thank you, Karen.
All right, thank you.
You'll be seeing more in the future.
Okay, good, thanks.
So there, but we got another.
I'm going to play off that. I'll come up and ask Johanna, and I hear from the Environmental Commission. And just as we're talking the electrical, what have you, is it the specs or part of the discussion to consider solar energy? It is definitely in there.
so we deliberately, one of the decisions we made was not to run natural gas to the building, so that we can one, use electricity, because it's not going to be used that much, but also to conversations with the architect is what sort of panels are there, what kind of roofing is there that would tolerate the balls flying around all over the place.
On the other side, right?
Yeah.
Good. And there are great options and great rebates from the Fed and New Jersey DEP right now.
So we deliberately did not include natural gas to the building, thinking that we have lots of options.
Good, not natural gas, but possibility of solar. Excellent.
Yeah.
We'll help you write some grants if you need it.
Aaron.
Hi, thank you, Mayor and Council. Aaron Duck, I live at 51 Crestview Drive. Just to follow up really quickly, actually, Mr. Cherniatsky refreshed my memory. Just as we move on this phase of the engineering of the Polo Grounds facility from, I guess, Suburban's aspect of it, knocking off those big chunks of the boulder, maybe fine tuning it some, does that free up Suburban at this point or in the near future? Because as I, we've discussed in the past, their next priority, the next focus is planning to be 271 and some of the work that needs to get done over there. So I just wanted to see, it's been a while since I've been here and, just kind of wanted to see where suburban is as far as their next steps.
So, yes, we are trying to move methodically and, I'm saying this for the council's benefit, so I'm not meaning to repeat to you what we talked about. But, there's a good deal riding on the polo grounds in terms of other grants and permits that might expire that were gotten before we started this whole process. So it's so important that we get this done and not take our eye off the ball in terms of achieving that. This day and age with how long things take to get permitted, I'm not comfortable saying how much closer we are. But once the utilities are in place, then this gets largely turned over to the architect. Then suburban and focus on whatever council needs to be the next priority.
Yeah, it's a big institution, it's the address.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, one last thing. When we do these projects, it's not that suburban's incapable of, walking and chewing gum at the same time. But we do have an in-house project manager, and we save a lot of money by doing our own inspections. So it's not just the capacity of suburban, it's also our in-house capacity to do our piece of the puzzle. And we do it well, I'll say. I don't do it, but some does it very well.
Yeah.
And saves a lot of money in the process.
Yeah, that was actually what I was gonna say. I mean, it is frustrating just from my perspective, and I'm not up in arms, but to have, to be waiting on what seems to me a totally separate and independent thing that we could be moving on, and we're kind of losing time in that what's going to be a drawn out, extended permitting process with the DOT to get that entrance. Because there's, seems like a bottleneck with the utilities over at Polar. But if it's if it's within the borough, I would just encourage, the council, I guess, to, think of what other solutions might be available to allow the two trains to move, contemporaneously.
At the same time. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I know we did do some preliminary work on 271 engineering work. And I know, but yeah, those permits for DOT could take a while, so we can.
Yeah, and some significant traffic studies.
Right.
How do we put the left turn lane on the Belleville line on the state highway? These are significant issues that have to be.
And probably the state would want to come out for that. That's not going to be just paperwork.
And then, of course, council has to weigh, and I hate to say this, but it's my job.
It's the
What's the cost benefit
Right.
of doing that? That would be policy discussion.
And part of it is also timing the funding. Because we're basing it on not raising taxes, but using the open space funding. And as that rolls out, we have to kind of budget it. So that's another factor. Unfortunately, so is about money. But thank you. Anyone else have a comment? All right. Yeah, I see you, Carrie. You're raising your hand again.
Is there anyone else? I don't want to cut in the line. I just wanted to follow up on what Aaron said because someone mentioned traffic studies. And having just been at a presentation at the planning board about another development on 202, the people that are building across from, right next to the firehouse said that there would be no traffic study because it's a state highway. So are we sure that there would be a traffic study associated with our new entrance at 271? Or is it possible that there might not be, that might not be one of the roadblocks, as it were?
Project isn't altering traffic patterns. Whereas if you were going to create, let's say, a left turn on 202 into that park, that would trigger a bunch of regulations that have to be permitted.
Okay, I see. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and a driveway cut also affects that.
Yes.
All right, good to know. Thanks, Carrie. Anyone else from the public? Good. All right, then I will close the public hearing and we will move on to a public hearing on, or with this one, we are continuing. So, we're continuing a public hearing on ordinance 2022-1936, ordinance of the Borough of Bernardsville, County of Somerset, New Jersey, adopting the amended redevelopment plan for block 71, lot 6, as shown on the official tax map of the Borough of Bernardsville, pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law NJSA 40A:12A-1 et sec. And I believe we had a letter from the planning board on this. The thing is not inconsistent. Yes. So,
So the motion will be to continue the public hearing until the December 12th, I believe it is. meeting. There's no further notice of public hearing. Yes.
do we need to continue?
Oh, we did that one. I'm sorry, I think it's a good beginning.
Well, let me assess the clerk. Is it scheduled for,
It was scheduled for a public hearing on the 14th, so we canceled that, and we're continuing it to the 28th, so we intro this in October.
Right.
But I think the planning board's memo, there was something about revision about
The roofs.
a roof.
Yes.
Yeah.
They want to get it right, which I think is the right choice.
yeah,
About
maybe some
flat
projects.
Yeah, I think we should continue the public hearing.
Okay.
The names change. I don't have to go back.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
Can change? Is it gonna make
Well,
it?
they recommended, yeah, they recommended, so in other words, we wouldn't have to send it back.
Right.
Again, once we need to do so, we'll.
I think they're expecting it back, aren't they, Jack?
I'm not sure. It came in late. There.
Why don't we move to amend it tonight to reflect the changes recommended by the planning board? And then continue the public hearing on the ordinance is amended, send it back to the planning board, and that will give us time between now and December 12th to resolve that.
I move what you said.
I'll second. what Jack said.
Yeah, I think that's prudent.
Yeah, so we all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, they want us to supplement the ordinance by providing in section 6.7.3 building height feet. The method of calculating building height for a flat roof. So we need John Zabel to do that.
He can cover the details, but I think that gives us enough detail that we'll be able to adopt in the next meeting.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so I'm done with that.
Thank you, Jack.
Yes.
All right. Or is that the one we just, no,
But the one we
no, which radio shed is this?
We were going to do it, but we're not.
Now we don't need to do it. So,
Good, Tom. Tom was-
what do you want us to do with this?
The ordinance for, the capital improvement change.
Right, because it was for the shed and now.
So in the capital fund, we listed the radio, the shed for, the radio. It's an old, I guess, Amish shed that's kind of falling apart, that has, you know, all, air conditioner and stuff stuck into it, really inappropriate for its use. So we've been trying to update it for a while. We were gonna do it this year, but now the county's come along, and we don't have to. So we want to change the capital budget in order to purchase that second vehicle that we cut out. In finance, when we adopted this year's budget, remember we cut out one vehicle?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So-
But it's not clear in the ordinance, Tom, so the ordinance is to approve the appropriation.
No, it's just we're amending it.
Amending it, I guess that word, okay?
Yeah,
So now you're allowing for the purchase of another
Right.
vehicle. Which won't happen until we're done with all our promotions and stuff like that. But we're just taking the radio tower, the shed off.
And the vehicles for,
PD.
yeah.
This is the vehicle we dropped.
Right.
During the appropriation.
Right.
Okay, so what if you?
I'll move that ordinance 2022-1937, amended ordinance 22-1917, which appropriates $67,000 from the capital improvement fund for the radio shed, be introduced by title, passed, and first reading published according to law. Public meeting scheduled from the beginning at 7 p.m. Monday, December 12th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Al, you want to do the?
Yep. I'll move in, then I'll explain I move that ordinance 2022-1938, amending chapter 3-5.10B of the Borough Code regarding regulations for towing service operators with just insurance and indemnity requirements, be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7 p.m. on Monday, December 12th. Second. Yeah, so if you recall, we had a Burnsville resident, Jerry Schmidt, had a meeting a few meetings ago. He owns a towing company in the borough, Baskin Ridge Towing. He explained that the current towing regulation requirements around umbrella coverage were unnecessarily burdensome to some small business owners. It was $3 million in coverage, and that is that's particularly burdensome from an insurance requirement when they go out and bid for insurance. Thank you to Tom and the risk officer. Tom brought it to the risk officer. I think we found a great solution of lowering it to $1 million. Jerry, I spoke to him this today. He's very happy with that. Thinks it would be a great lift of burden onto not only himself, but other towing companies who competitively bid for a business in the town. At the same time, it does provide still protection to the borough that we find necessary should we need to leverage it. So I think this is a great solution. You both lower burden on small business owners generally, at the same time protecting the needs.
Well done.
Thanks for doing that, Al.
Yep.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
And thanks to Tom for helping out.
yeah. Diane, what is it? I move that ordinance 2022-1939 appropriating the sum of $104,000 for the purchase of road department vehicles be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7 o'clock p.m. Monday, December 12th, 2022. Any discussion? I assume this was budgeted, so we're good. All right, all in favor? Opposed? Oh, Gina,
I move that ordinance 2022-1940, an ordinance adopting rules and regulations for the use of borough trails, be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7 p.m. Monday, December 12th.
Second.
So I was just surprised, so we have a member of our cross country team here, that we're gonna ban all running on the trails.
I'm on that committee, I have to.
I'm sorry, we had a little bit of fun. But absolutely not in there. I don't want the public to misunderstand. But I saw Hillary out of the corner of my eye.
For those of you who don't walk your dog, I'll reach that afterwards.
Why are you looking at me?
No, the mayor got it right away, right? Within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, I'll second.
The editor and me.
I was already second.
Yes,
Your roll call.
so voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And thank you, Diane, for your work on that and the Trails Committee. And now we have resolutions 22-214A. Wow. Yeah, there are through 22-233.
You're removing one?
We removing
No, that's 10A.
the just on 22-230. That is something we're required to do as part of us getting the funding for the Boylan Terrace Trail. So just it's required that we have that in place for procedures. Any other questions on any of these?
I did have one about 226. So obviously there's new leadership for the farmer's market. I just want to, I think we're all good with that. Who's leading that now?
It is now Madeline English.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I think they're the same fees.
They are. They're
the same fees that we
use.
Yeah. Any other ones?
Just for 218, actually. Thank Sergeant Richards and Chief Remington for extra duties as OEM coordinators.
Yeah.
Thank you.
May I point out, 23. I'm dying to, but I can't, explain exactly where that money's coming from. But this was a resident you brought to our attention. who wants to fund, make sure to have state-of-the-art defibrillators in all our patrol vehicles. So the money had to be given to a tax exempt foundation that was given over to the law enforcement foundation, and they are now sending it over to us, and we have to accept it, and we'll buy them, and we'll do that. But what a wonderful gesture.
And there was a family incident that prompted this, so it has kind of been their mission to make sure that there's always defibrillators. There's a relative or someone who was saved by one, and it was such a wonderful thing. So
Then we're gonna take the ones that are in the cars, get them refurbished somewhat, and spread them out to our other public buildings.
Could we take a look, if we're doing that, Tom? We do have some recreation facilities that I think are lacking in AED equipment.
Absolutely.
The polo grounds, I don't believe we have any, but then we do lack cover there.
they had one in the old check.
Oh, is it in the old snack shack? Okay.
But
But if we can just take a look at all of our facilities, if you want, I can help.
It would be nice to have a list of where they're located too, so to give to coaches and anyone. Sporting events, so they know where to get them.
And when we refurbish them and install them, they'll come with training as well.
That's great.
Wonderful. And actually, it was this resident who spurred the whole development of the foundation. Because she wanted to give us this money and we couldn't accept it because we didn't have a nonprofit. We're technically not a nonprofit. So it started that whole process, and now we have this law enforcement foundation that has been really so successful. They have raised a lot of money so far. And that's to supplement, what's in the budget with these extra things that maybe they can't get. They need to bring those.
I'm just gonna embarrass Jack because he did all the legal work.
He did. Which is not easy to do with the IRS. Yeah,
Thank you, Jack.
thank you. I just had a question on the one of the, is that on here? Never mind, it's the best practices, that's later. Okay, we're good on the resolutions?
I will move resolutions 22-214A through 22-233 be adopted.
I'll second. All in favor? Opposed? Oh, I'm sorry. I've got so used to doing copies. Roll call, please.
Mr. Amber?
Yes.
Mr. Greenfield?
Yes.
Mr. McCready?
Yes.
Mr. McQueen?
Yeah.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been like 5 weeks since we had a meeting. I'm out of practice. Mayor's update. Is that next? Yes, okay. It's been since October since we had meetings, right? Yeah, because I'm looking at it, I have the trunk or treat. Seems like that was a long time ago. But thank you, Olivia, if you're still there. I don't know, the trunk or treat and the downtown trick or treating were hugely successful. And also recreation, Leah Horowitz, they did a stupendous job with that. November 4th, I met with the local Cub Scout troop who were working on their Arrow of Light. That was such fun. Yeah. They asked really tough questions too, I have to tell you. We did a ribbon cutting for Kira Elise collection, which is the new bridal shop downtown. And they had a lovely reception that evening as well for a lot of the other businesses. I attended the 2 flag ceremonies at Heartworks. They always do that for Veterans Day week. They have the veterans raise and lower the flag. It's really and then they give them dinner, which is great. We had a very nice luncheon again. Leah did that, Horowitz, for the chief for his retirement, which was well attended. I attended a presentation on combating bias and hate at the prosecutor's office, mainly because I wanted to meet the new prosecutor. We have a new one, but it was an excellent program. We had a downtown Bernardsville board meeting. I attended, and Al did as well, the New Jersey League of Municipalities conference in Atlantic City. I went first to the orientation where they recognized those of us who have achieved municipal innovator status in the League's leadership program. And I attended workshops on energy planning, community health, liquor licensing and where that's going, and a very excellent program by our soon-to-be Senator John Brown on laughter and leadership, which was, yeah, the comedian. It was very good. I attended the county stigma-free committee meeting and housing committee. I attended the reception at the library for our new library, which was lovely and very nice of the Friends to do for us. I was interviewed on a little TV program called My Town that the mayor of Clinton, Janice Kovach, does. So I posted it on my Facebook page. If anybody's bored and wants to kill a half an hour, you can watch that. Did you watch it? Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, and she does a really good program. It's very professional. And then Saturday was Small Business Saturday. And we did a ribbon cutting for Teddy French, which is a little pop-up that's right next to Lupa Apothecary. I think they're gonna be there for a month. They're mostly an online store, but thought it would be nice to have, where you could look and see and touch, there's things. So people get familiar with them. So they'll be there, I think, through January. And that's it for me. Tom.
Couple of things. One is John Zabel, our planner, has been working very hard on the Palmer redevelopment plan. And I'm pretty confident that council is going to be satisfied that the points that you wanted addressed are going to be addressed. And I think they're going to be done in a way that's very acceptable to all involved. So still work to do, but just given the timing of the year, I think we'll be ready for introduction in the first meeting or two in 2023. They'll go to the planning board and they'll have a lot of work to do to look at it, but that's moving along solidly.
Great.
And just to say, I'm impressed with how far John's come along. Item 10C, best practices on the agenda. I just simply want to thank Leslie, our CFO, for she has to track down each and every one of these items and document them, and she puts her name on the line by certifying that they're met. So there's no room for gray matter here, and we met our score with room to spare. So that's terrific, and I thank her. As you know, the borough took over the 63 Bernards Ave apartments. It was very difficult to find a property management company because there's only 4 tenants in there. And so the borough's been working to, kind of hold that for a while until maybe we can identify someone or sell the property. But we are taking a tour tomorrow of the units. We wrote a letter to the tenants. We had it translated to appropriate different languages, and we just want to lock it down, make sure there's nothing life safety issues, and so we'll be temporarily managing. We'll be temporary landlords for a while.
When does it transition to the affordable housing?
It's up to RPN. It will depend on whether or not they get their tax credits, which they're optimistic that they will. Could be as soon as 6 months.
When did they find out if their tax credit?
Next month, during December.
So why don't they take?
They don't want to be property managers of non-income restricted housing.
I understand. So the fact that it's currently I understand.
Restricted, yeah. And just, being on the housing committee, that property tends to fail their inspections every year.
It's one of the reasons we adopted the housing bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we talk to RPM about a faster solution?
We've tried.
Okay.
So we'll continue to do that.
Do we know when the leases are up for the people that are currently there?
They're weird leases, they're kind of open-ended, which in a way is good because they're basically month-to-month leases.
Oh, okay.
So 2 of the properties are vacant. If any other tenants move out, we'll leave them vacant, because that way we don't have to do a relocation.
Yeah. So are we then collecting the rent?
We are collecting the rent. We, in our letter to the residents, we said, snow and mowing is your contact for any sort of plumbing, heating, Renee's to contact there. And then we'll contact our appropriate sub. So, I think we're all set.
One interesting,
Unless it's gonna collect, oh, I'm sorry.
one interesting thing is the leases provide that the tenants are responsible for mowing the lawn during that. Which is probably one of the reasons they were constantly in violation of the property maintenance code. So the borough's gonna do that, John McDowell said we can do it.
Yeah, I remember it.
And at least that way we'll work with them.
Yeah, so immediately, the neighborhood will see.
Yes.
You know, you voted on the Boylan Terrace protocol. Basically, Doug Walker had to write a manual to satisfy the federal government about how work flows in our organization, so they know that we're capable of actually doing it. I only tell you that because it's one of the things that we do when a grant comes around that
No one notices.
no one notices, but this was a unique one. So I just want to say thanks to Doug.
Do we have any idea in regards to time? I mean, obviously, have we received the federal funds yet? I know.
No, it's a reimbursement.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we need to bond that in next year's budget?
We should have enough to fund it.
Through capital.
Knowing, if we know that the money's gonna come back right away.
And the money is at the state. The state has the money from the federal. Just that we have to submit and get reimbursed.
And
So
we're also
right now trying to find out if we can get the engineering done under the grant.
Right, in which case we have to use one of their engineers by the way. If they pay for it.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Unless you have an objection to that.
No, I don't know. And then lastly, I just want to congratulate the mayor and Councilman Green, council member McCready, for their reelection. And I know we're supposed to, and we are nonpartisan. However, you know, just want to say we're grateful for the work and support you do also behind the scenes and giving us guidance and getting things squared away. And I think I speak on behalf of the staff and I say we're forward to working with you similar.
Thanks.
Thanks, Don. Do I have a motion to accept the department monthly reports?
So.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, public safety, have we read? We have not. This month, for sure, but with, well, especially with the twins and there's just a lot going on, so. Gotcha, and we do have a lot of agents too. Findings?
We have not met, but we can get one on the calendar. It's the season. The
Yes.
budgets need to be started
Yeah,
for next year.
yeah.
So maybe you and I can talk next week and. I guess. Just a procedural question, because we have mayoral appointments in December. I guess we should start the work and
January.
transition it in January.
Yeah.
If necessary.
Actually, Anthony has sent us all the openings and
Yep.
whatever, so.
So we get started in December. Is Leslie's already working? Yes.
Yes, she's actually reaching out to you guys for the study.
Cool.
There's some
Thank you.
Oh, great. Okay, personnel?
We haven't met either, but we will be soon.
Yes.
We haven't hired anyone either, so.
No. Public Works. Okay, sidewalks, Lower Charles Road and Old Army Road, requesting a traffic study of the Lower Charles Road, at the county's expense. They have an in-house traffic engineer. The Lower Charles, and Old Army Road information, including engineering reports with preliminary estimates, as well as studies done by RideWise, has been sent to the Chief and Safety Committee for their input on measures that can be employed short of sidewalks. Bernards Avenue, the project went out to bid ahead of schedule on October 27th. The bids are to be received December 1st. The award for council's consideration is scheduled for December 12th council meeting. Then the plans will be submitted to New Jersey DOT for approval on December 14th. Pre-construction meeting is going to be tentatively January 23rd, 2023. And construction, weather dependent, will begin on or about April 17th, 2023. the Bernards Avenue Neighborhood Project. We're currently waiting for grant award notification. The notifications are coming a little bit late this year. We had applied for a $250,000 grant to help offset the cost of this project. When we receive the grant notification, the plans will be sent to New Jersey DOT for final approval as required by the grant's guidelines. Once New Jersey DOT approval is received, the project will go out to bid. The money for this project also, it's already been allocated, but $350,000 is a lot of money, so we're kind of waiting. The Mountaintop Supplemental Drainage Project work was completed on November 22nd. Claremont Avenue pedestrian signage, that is the 5 corners. The sign specs were sent to the county for final approval. The pickleball court, the asphalt was placed. There are some small ponding concerns which will need to be addressed in the spring. It's too cold to apply repair material at this time. And a purchase order is in place to repair the driveway apron and sidewalk along Sini Drive, which got messed up.
When's opening day?
Spring.
I call all kinds of crap all over.
I know that, I push. Yeah, no, it's the beginning of spring. Because right now it's getting too cold. They want to fix the issues and it's just gonna be spring with a big round of that. We don't want to avoid anything. Dam remediation, we're awaiting the borough's Highlands zoning review from Dan Cleave Engineering. Highlands is potentially our largest grant opportunity to help offset the cost of the dam remediation project. And one more thing, the committee also discussed having an informational session for residents of Bernards Avenue and the neighboring streets to discuss timelines and what will be happening in that area during 2023, because it will be significant. And Al, do you have anything you would like to add?
Sure. I mean, I brought this to Public Works. Thank you, Diane, and thank you to Diane and Christine for agreeing to it and adding to the idea. I just thought this is a major undertaking. It's a chief priority of council this year. We're investing a lot of funding into it with big grants. And there's a lot of excitement in that neighborhood, but also a lot of confusion. And it's something that it's this impactful. It'll not only be positively transformative in the neighborhood, but there's also smaller, I shouldn't say smaller, there's ancillary discussions that need to happen. Like there's businesses on that road. I've had questions from those businesses if they were going to have to close their doors for a little while, if they can stay open. And these things I thought could really be nicely handled through a community meeting. And so the idea, which I think Public Works was very supportive of, is maybe in January, one of the off weeks, we don't have council. We can hold something maybe in the church right there. We can invite the residents to come together, and we can actually have Doug or the borough lead the discussion and go into a lot of the details, what it took to get here from a financial perspective, what the RFP process looked like, and then what the timeline looks like for construction, as well as how it impact both residents and businesses in the area, and ask their questions. So I think we're favorable on it.
Yeah, let's include the police department. Also
Yes.
to discuss traffic patterns and how it's gonna work, just so that they deal towards. Yeah,
Yeah.
how they're gonna have to detour and, yeah,
I think that would be appreciated.
That's a great idea. yeah, terrific.
Can I
I-
ask about the sidewalks?
Yeah.
Anybody want to kill me?
No.
Yeah.
Has the engineering gone forward for those secondary bids?
I wasn't at the Public Works meeting and
It was not discussed at this public works meeting because we already discussed it at the last council meeting about the study, Tom, that we're doing regarding the what the impact will be of sidewalks on the parking in the driveway and the parking on the street, and it will affect any the traffic patterns on the street.
so I know we reached out to get an estimate on doing that study. And I don't believe that study, that project was awarded yet.
No, it hasn't been awarded.
No.
We just said to go ahead and do it. But that's as far as it's.
Can we check with, that's something I've done, right?
I'll send you an email.
I have one more Public Works thing. I have one more Public Works thing. I'm sorry. I just wanted to inform council, and I informed Public Works too, that I asked Tom, the borough administrator, to reach out to JCP&L, see if they could either have Public Works meet with JCP&L or have it come to council around storm preparedness. Just because we're about to enter the winter season, I think we've already had some outages in town, if anyone follows on the bubble, just so that we can ask JCP&L about what they're doing around storm preparedness, anything that we need to consider, and just making sure that borough residents are prioritized as we enter the winter season. And I thank Tom for already starting that process rolling. He copied me on an email out to the liaison for Bernardsville, the JCP&L.
Will they be coming meeting to the council?
I think they okay to do that. Jonathan would come and, yeah, and just give us a kind of a.
Yeah, I think the original thought was maybe a conversation with Public Works as a Zoom call first, so that we can go into details, but then we should go to
Yeah.
council at some point.
And I'd also like to ask them for better lighting down.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Especially where we put the new crosswalk, the lighting there is so bad
I know.
that you don't.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
People don't look, they just walk
Yeah.
out in the middle of the crosswalk.
There is not there's a light on one side, but not on the other, and I don't know if that's us or them.
It's on public safety, so we state.
Is it the state that has to do that? Or does the state have to approve? Crosswalks? No, the
No, the
lighting
lighting.
at the crosswalk, yes. Because that is really, I mean, we're thrilled that we got the crosswalk in, but now it really needs to be better.
It's in there right as well, yeah.
Do we have that request in for the lighting?
I know Kevin was working on, so I see that sits on, John's plate.
They said it took 3 or 4 years to get the crosswalk.
I know.
How many years it takes to get the lighting fixed.
Well, if somebody gets hit, then they
Yeah.
have to go lighting quicker. I mean, it's really.
It is, it's very dangerous there now.
It's on the public safety topics.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other commissions?
Planning board has been meeting a lot. We have 3 primary applications in front of the planning board that are major applications, the Essex building, the Equinet properties and Grateful Management building. We've now rounded hour 8 on Greatfield Management over 2 meetings. And this is the one down by the firehouse.
Oh, okay.
And I want to commend the planning board. I want to commend Grateful Properties. I know the planning board's a bit of a black hole. This is an example of what I think good partnerships in the public sector, right, and government look like. Their first round, I was public about this during the first meeting. It was not something I think that would be within the character of our borough and not in line with what we were hoping to do from a planning perspective. They've modified it dramatically. Now, I don't know if it's ultimately going to be approved or not, but I just want to, I guess, reassure the council that the system works. This is an example of what good should be, whether it's approved or not. We are hearing round 2 on the Essex building next Thursday. I anticipate that'll likely be another 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So we are busy, and then I think Equinet is right behind. So there'll be more updates. Nothing is approved, but we are deliberating on all of it.
Which one is that one?
Equinet is the one on the corner of Claremont and Mine.
Mill.
Sorry.
That will be for that house.
I have,
That's
Board of Health.
Board of Health.
Yep. This is quick. Health officers report for Board of Health. Obviously, September and October is really some of the busiest month for the health officer at the beginning of school. Looking at particularly as they inspect kitchens, look at environmental work, et cetera, but everything's been, no major concerns. Obviously, they're monitoring the flu outbreak, but nothing unusual. They said, I'm going to be conducting a rabies clinic in January and be advertising that soon. I think probably most notable for council, 2023 is the last year of our shared services agreement with the Bernards Township Board of Health, with all the neighboring boroughs. So we'll start to begin the process of evaluating that and then proposals to potentially do it again. I had mentioned last time that there was a question around the affordable housing units being built. If we had the waste treatment, the waste management treatment facility, if we have the ability to absorb that capacity. And I facilitated a conversation between Chair Len Friedman and John McDowell. And the answer is yes, absolutely, completely covered. But I think the Board of Health just appreciated the rapid response from the borough administration on their question. And that's it. This meeting is in January.
Speaking of rabies, it's a strange segue, but I don't reminded me whenever I read the animal control report. They're really pretty interesting. I'm surprised at how many, every time there's a lost dog, they don't have licenses. How many people don't get their dogs licensed? I'm just wondering if maybe we could do some kind of a public notice to remind people that they should get their dogs licensed. Just, it makes it so much easier when a dog gets lost if there's some kind of ID, or don't even have a collar or a name tag, but at least the licensing, so that we know
Common Deputy Health Officer, but bring that back to
I
that.
don't know, I think we're.
We can go
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Is there a,
Or maybe if you tell them about the rabies clinic and said, by the way, you have a dog license.
if you, so. For the record, my dog is licensed, just. But I'm just curious, if you forget, like, if somebody buys a dog, doesn't think to get it licensed. Is there a penalty if they come back the next year and ask for a license?
No.
So there's no penalty,
They can't be issued a summons if they're correct.
if they're caught. So I would just recommend like reinforcing that piece, because I think that's.
Yeah.
I agree, like, it's not necessarily something that I think people think of right off the bat, and so I would, you know, I just recommend putting it out there in terms of, especially given that it's starting in the year.
Yeah.
And we will be paying for our dog to have its license for next year too.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't
Not
know.
putting
Like
it all
that. She's not old.
yes. Environmental commission too. So, environmental commission met, in person, two things that were covered that of note. A lot of things we went over, but, you're gonna see on the agenda, the green team is being started up again, and just, they were focused on how they could support that. And then Chad, you mentioned, 106 Mine Brook, which is considered now, I guess, a minor location, given the frontage, but they don't have a plan to, as a result, they don't have to have a plan to handle impervious coverage.
They don't have to have a major stormwater plan.
Okay, so, is that something, if there's anything we can do to ask for, did they adjust the size of the lot so they wouldn't have to do that?
They adjusted the number of units. So the guidance is, we can ask, the guidance is rather transparent. That is frankly above my pay grade.
Okay.
This is borough planner. This is the stuff, the technical stuff that I listen to, and if it makes sense, I'm happy with. They technically changed the structure, so that way it was no longer a major subdivision. It's now a minor subdivision.
Okay, so, oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, I was just gonna say, you know, if there's anything we can do, I know that the multiple minor subdivisions will eventually create issues from a stormwater perspective. So if there's anything we can do to influence that, either at the planning board or at the town, it'd be helpful. It's something the environmental commission would be very happy to see.
I think that there's I think your statement is probably right. It's probably a town issue. If we're interested in changing our ordinances, I think that's what it would take from my perspective. I'm not a big fan of changing the rules midway.
No, I got it. That's fine.
But if we're gonna change the rules of the town, I'm open to consider it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Trails Committee. I'm currently working with Chris Diamato to get the information compiled by the Trails Committee onto the borough website. There'll be information on the borough-owned trails and links to borough area trails websites. Some of the information included are the trails rules, which we approved tonight, where part, length, and difficulty of the trail, as well as a brief history. And I'd really like to thank Terry Hazelton and Aaron Duff for their contributions as far as the history. They did the whole history shebang, and it's going to be really interesting. We're also getting estimates to have Peters Track and the Mine Brook Park properties properly surveyed before creating additional trails on these properties or making connections to other trails. We need to ensure that the borough-owned property boundaries are known and visible, not a little stake in the corner amongst the barbary. We do have estimates. John McDowell is looking to see how we're going to pay for it. And I believe it's going to tax you. And HVAC and housing both met, but there's nothing new to report at this time for either committee. However, both housing and HVAC do have openings. If anyone would like to volunteer to serve on either of these committees, please fill out the skills bank form on the borough website.
And you mentioned HVAC, I was remiss, I had meant to mention this, Dan and HVAC have been fantastic, and their interactions with the planning board.
Yes, he's been great.
The way that they volunteered their time to make sure that this is, and everyone does, the environmental, a lot of people, but there was a real impact that he made on that project. So.
He does all the work, the committee reviews the work, and he's done a tremendous job. Yeah. He's the very reason why he got that leadership award. Yes, he really does a great job.
So the library night was a fairly uneventful meeting, except it was Fran's first, but she's now already introduced herself. So that's great, thank you. There's an item of business, that we'll cover that was brought up there, as well. But Tom, I had sent an email, but I don't recall seeing a response, but there's, what, is it 15 out of the 23 lights that are outside of the library?
Mr. Dowell was reviewing that, whether or not it was a ballast issue or perhaps a circuit issue. I don't know the determination on that.
Yeah, but that's, I just wanted to see.
Answer back in either.
Okay.
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 But thank you for raising this.
A lot of light.
Yeah. Well, especially if it gets dark so early, then the students are still there. Okay, anyone else? You covered it all? No recreation? Recreation.
Yeah, I have nothing, there was nothing recreation anywhere. The last one was.
Items of business, we handle 10A.
Yep, thank you. I'm sure we've been here for a long time.
Yes, sorry. Art, can you come up and stand on the X? Thank you.
The School of St. Elizabeth would like to host our third Shamrock Shuffle in March. We are going to use the same course that the police helped us design a couple of years ago. So it'll actually be our fourth time, so we're starting to get the hang of it. It will be Saturday, March 18th, right after St. Patrick's Day. Probably like a 10 a.m. start. We'll have a kids fun run on the campus of the church and school, and then the 2-mile walk and 5K run on the Bernardsville roads. I put in for road closure just on City Drive in front of the church and school, and then the section on Post Cunhart between Minot and Berkshire, and we'll send letters to all the neighbors in those sections a couple weeks beforehand, so they know what's happening. And that's it.
You don't do a rain day, do you? It's rain or shine.
It's rain or shine, so it's very stressful leading up to it.
So Hillary, I only have one condition. March 18th is my birthday. So that means that automatically 5 minutes get shaved off my time. So I can meet my son and daughter.
We'll give you 5 minutes.
You think that's gonna do?
Last year, yes. This year, I'm not sure. Great.
Yeah. So. We're good.
We're good.
Yes, thank you again.
Yeah.
It really, you do a great job with that. It's just a lot of fun and well organized. The best practices, here we are. I just was curious about the cyber stuff, the cybersecurity, and I just want to make sure, you know, we said we don't train our people, but just that we're compliant with all the things we need to do. Should we get, so that we don't get a ransomware
Right. Chris,
attack.
we don't do the training. We don't bring in a trainer. But I know Chris is constantly updating our system, and whenever something is out there in the public, he notifies everyone what to be careful of. But I think it is something we should be doing as far as like the formal training. And it's increasingly something that needs to happen. So Chris was charged with identifying 2 or 3 providers that would satisfy the JIP, and I will go with that.
Great, but some of these are, you know, I mean, they're very impressive, the score that we got on this, and thank Leslie for all her hard work in collecting it. It's really, they don't miss anything.
No, and like to that point, she wasn't satisfied that we sent emails saying, be careful with this, be careful with that. She wanted a roster with the contract of someone that came with training, right? So I know some CFOs who would have accepted.
Said it was okay, yeah.
Would have accepted like what we do, but she.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have a great score. It's good to see. Sometimes it's nice to just see this all in writing, what actually we comply with. Anybody else on that?
That was great.
The stream cleanup, we go through this every year, so we just, I know they wrote it like an invoice, is that adequate, or do we need more? We need a detail.
Yeah, we need a detail. I asked them for that. I didn't get it yet, but I did ask them for more details of what they're providing us rather than just an invoice. But I didn't say that, so I'm waiting on that.
Yeah, what is that, April 15th? Yeah, we have time for that, but.
I paid for that out of the,
Clean communities, that's right, that's what we did.
send me the bill.
Yes,
$100 for allowed to.
so they asked for 1,000.
Oh, that's.
Stupid, right?
I'm sorry.
It's people,
Did it change to 1,000 or? is it-
I do it without last year as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 500.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, the Clean Communities grant does that. Okay, cool. Friends of the Bernardsville Library, we have a request for their mini golf adult night, I believe that's for who's serving the alcohol.
That is permission to drink, permission to drink granted.
Yes,
Wine and beer only,
yeah,
and drink tickets will be given out so that they will.
right, there's limited to two.
Number.
Yeah, and that's what we've done in the past. I encourage everyone, it's so much fun, it really is, it's a great time, if you haven't gone in the past. Go, it really is good, just
February 4th.
a lot of fun.
That's
Is it
just
January
check on the
4th?
date.
February 4th?
February 4th.
Yeah, it's on the agenda. All right. So we're good with that. We don't have to do we have to do anything official on that, Jack?
No,
Okay.
if they're part of the,
We're talking about the.
or
No.
they, so they're gonna do it the next meeting.
I think we're talking about Friends of Burns.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, oh, no. I'm sorry.
What I will do is I'll tell them that they need to do a social affair permit. I'll tell them that council approved, council consent was given. They can proceed with the social affair permit, because
That
Let's see,
actually
but-
is in the
Right,
getting
right,
from them,
yeah,
so
right.
That goes to the ABC.
So then you see the agency after that, I'll make.
Okay, good. All right. We have the reorg and meeting dates for next year. Is everyone around on January 3rd? Yeah, a bunch of people on here. You know, it's, while we're speaking of meetings, we have December 12th and then we have the 27th. I will not be here on the 27th. I'm just wondering if that's
I'm not gonna be on the 27th.
it's on that this year.
this year. Just looking ahead, if that's an issue.
You know, we're fishing to see if we can get everything. on the
Well,
call.
it's an
Put it that
issue
way.
if you and Chad are.
Yeah.
here. So it's an issue.
Right.
Some years we've had an 8 AM just Zoom meeting, just to close that business, which then build it up.
I'm gonna be nowhere near the.
There's no-
Me either. Yeah, but we don't need to.
Let
share.
her-
Yeah.
Well,
Can we see where we're at on the
it's a
12th?
new meeting and
That's fine.
if we're.
Yeah.
If there's procedural stuff we have to get done, we can
Yeah.
find a way to. have
Or
it
like,
on
if
the
the
call.
4 of us can make it and deal with it.
Right. That's what we've done. in the
Yeah.
past. It's good.
And if we don't need it, we just.
We can get everything done as well.
So if we can get everything done on the 12th, then we can cancel it.
Well, we can't introduce anything on the 27th. I mean, we're kind of, because.
Yeah,
It's gonna count something anyway.
So
So, but I agree, let's figure out what we need, when the 12th, and if you need something.
I don't know, we
we
might,
might just run and.
but yeah, if we introduce something on the 12th, we have to.
And would it be, but we can make the decision on the 12th if we want. We
Yeah.
can change the date as well, make it before the holiday.
Yes, in fact, the mayor, under the administrative code, the mayor can call a special meeting. So there's a reason to do it before the end of the year, should we call it and set it for, when you today and number of Zoom or whatever. If we need-
I'm not seeing any ordinances that are gonna be heard on the 27th.
No, but we
We
might
have to do
introduce
something.
one on the 12th.
If something gets
We have to do
introduced.
On the 12th,
Right, so if it's not critical, we're just not going to introduce it. Right.
Yeah.
Nothing on others.
I'm not aware of it.
Okay, anybody, we okay with all these dates? Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, which one? Oh, well, the second one, January. Yeah, what are you gonna do? Everything's full of on Monday.
I can come to the council meeting on my birthday this year.
We can shave minutes, 5 minutes off your 5K time too.
Yeah. Okay,
I'll do a resolution on the 12th, that'll be officially naming all these dates as our meeting.
Okay.
Officially getting on. I'll do that.
and then we have a request from the Garden Club for temporary signs to be out longer than allowed.
Do we, sorry, can we do the reorganization the third, or can we wait for the second meeting of the month?
It has to be the first.
First 7 days, I
7
think,
days.
is requirement.
Yeah,
I don't know what happens to the I don't know what that was. I think I know. I can probably-
yeah, it has to be within the range of it. Yeah. Because our heat says only 14 days. And they want 46 days. But it's a season breeding.
I think they wanted it up throughout the whole December, holiday season. So if they put it up now, that would be more than 14 days to get them through Christmas and end of the year.
And where they want it on all cuts, circle, square.
Yeah,
triangle?
right.
Okay.
And they have a restroom?
Because they always, the one that's the Lions Club is always there longer than 14 days. I think as long as it's gone when the holidays are over, I'm okay with it. Because they do a lot of work on that island.
Yep.
I just saw them there the other day, they were ripping things out and cutting things, and so, yeah, they certainly can put a sign there. Although I've noticed everybody's sticking signs there, and we have to be a little more diligent there. It's the sign. Yeah,
I can relate to zoning that it's okay, but then they have to just remove it after the holiday.
yeah.
Maybe take a list of the signs that are there and give them to Renee, just so she knows that that one is approval.
Right, but the other ones,
Even they not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Tom, you have something?
Just, I don't know how council's comfort level is, but let's say the November 13th meeting. No, I'm looking for the 2023. Right, so there's that week after the election and before the League of Municipalities Conference. And then we have Thanksgiving. So I know this year, such a challenge. Anthony would never say anything, but I'm gonna say it. It's a marathon administering that the election, and he does it so well. But then to turn around and work on an agenda is also a lot of work as well. And then, a couple of us went down to the league early. So I just wonder if we could maybe put 10, and we don't know when the league's dates are. But I wonder if we could just put tentative next to the November 13th.
Yeah.
I think we should leave it on, and then we can do what we did this year, and there, cancel it, and when we get to September and October, don't schedule second readings or anything for the first meeting in November.
Yeah.
That way you can follow the annual notice requirement.
I just know you're uncomfortable canceling something.
I know.
Yeah.
But
You can put a meeting on.
Or if you-
But, that.
if needed, yeah.
Then we'll know when the league schedule comes out.
Right.
Anthony's gonna have to remind us.
We have appointments for the green team, and unfortunately, we got some two of which are high school juniors, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Which is great, because we wanted to get some of those children involved, and I think that one of the ones I think you just sent, Anthony, also checked off green team. So we may get another one, and I just put in my newsletter asking for volunteers for a lot for HSAC and a whole bunch of other ones that need housing, yeah. So maybe we'll get some more people coming forward, but encourage your friends to volunteer, we need them. And, just going through the list of the different committees and, who's up for reappointment, or, I did get a phone call from Dot Pollack, and she will be resigning from planning board at the end of this year. So I think there's a year left on her term. which it might be good for somebody to, just try it out for a year. To fill that vacancy, so, yeah, we'll see. So, I forget, is this? There was somebody that just put in. Two people just did, no, one, no, two people, two, yeah. Do we need, are these my appointments?
The green team is a council appointment, was established like about 10, 12 years
Okay.
ago. So yeah, that's the council motion and second.
All right, do I have a motion?
I move to appoint Shannon Tobin, Claire Taylor, Diane Boglio, and Michael Shatsky, thank you, to the green team for 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, this is just for 2022 for a month.
No.
For 2022
Yeah.
and 2023.
The green team, when it was established, it was a calendar year, 1 year terms. So we do that every organization, every
So we need three.
So
It will be,
we
it will be
appoint-
on, yeah, helping out with the organization.
And I believe, Jeff Parent said he would chair.
Yes.
Was he sharing it with Greg? I think they're kind of
Yes.
doing it together, yeah. Okay, good.
Does that have to be, do they have to be a member of this, the chair, or are they already for the green team?
They're representatives from the environmental
Oh, good,
commission.
so-
Yeah, there's, I think one of the members has to be from the environmental.
There's,
There's categories of
yeah,
kind of members, and then I think there's 6.
the chair, I think, appoints chairs for committees now. I think.
Well, check
Well,
that.
yeah,
We already will figure it out.
yeah, I think, yeah, we'll do it.
What it was, Bob Baker had been the chair for
Yeah.
quite a while, and he's overwhelmed with all that he does. And the beauty of the green team is they really work on getting us the sustainable New Jersey points. And we were silver. We weren't?
Never.
Bronze, I'm sorry, we were bronze, yes. I went to that was the luncheon like 2 years ago, I think, that they gave us bronze, and then we haven't really been doing anything all through COVID, so we don't want to lose the momentum and maybe lose our bronze standing. And there's a lot of factors though that go into, it's not just really green team, it's not just environmental things. There's an education piece, the school does a piece. There's a lot of different, even historical stuff does a piece, so. Yeah, we want to keep that going. And actually, Mike Shatsky, he did a program for us for the mayor's wellness, and he does a lot around the county. He did that, what was he, the couch potato thing? Yeah, we had, and he came for the walk with the mayor. Yeah, he's really nice guy. And I think he said he just retired, or he lost his wife.
Yeah, he lost his wife recently. He's been retired for a bit now.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he's getting out there doing something.
Yeah. We don't have any correspondence, I don't believe. Any unfinished business? Any new business? We really can't do too much new right now. All right, last chance for an open session. Anyone would like to speak?
Kathy Peachy has raised her hand.
Oh, Kathy. Hey.
Okay, here we go. Hello. Kathy Peachy, 70 Chilton Street.
Kathy, I have to tell you, I heard you did a great job with the kids on Saturday.
Thanks, Mary Jane. It was really fun. They were such great kids, and it was my pleasure to get to be with them. It really was.
Great, thank you for volunteering.
So if I may, I just have a couple comments. I've got notes all over the place, a couple comments and then a couple questions. So first of all, congratulations to the council members who were reelected. That's very nice for you, and I hope you continue to do the good work that you are. It was also really fun to see Chief Remian, excuse me if I butcher any names, Remian, and being sworn in. That was a lot of fun. I wanted to comment also, I heard the planners comment to Mark Walden, I think his name was, regarding that it was difficult to find the master plan for the polo grounds and the pavilion. And excuse me, and I looked for the same thing, and I was just like curious where it was located and this and that. And I couldn't find it before tonight's meeting. So I appreciate that it's nothing set in stone yet, but I will look forward to being able to see something maybe online at some point. The next was a comment for, is it Mr. Ribeiro? I really appreciated your suggestion for the community meeting about Bernards Avenue. I thought that was a really nice idea, and if bilingual representation is necessary, I'm sure that's there too. I thought that was really great. And a question on the tail end of that was, if the borough then is landlord to that property down there, I don't know who's in that property at this point, but are we going to help them relocate when the time comes necessary?
Yeah, yes, we have to by law.
Yeah.
In fact, we've already retained a relocation company to assist in that.
That's great. Okay. And then I had a question about the bamboo. I think that Max Bozak left already, and the bamboo, which I did not even know it was called the bamboo forest up there at the middle school. Oh my goodness. But my understanding, was he just going to cut it down, or was there going to be something else?
They're gonna replant native species.
Another, for now, he was just trying to remove it all part of his Eagle Scout project, and then they said another Eagle Scout project will be at a little bit later, and they're going to plant native species there.
Right. And so were they going to remove it just by hacking it down, or were they going to dig it up, or did he say that? Did I miss that?
Didn't really say, but he's gonna have, he mentioned that he would have to get a lot of equipment.
Our experts here are saying that.
Audubon and there are good folks in the environmental committee, they'll make sure it gets done right.
Yeah, believe me, I've gone toe to toe with bamboo. It's no fun.
I've been doing that at the Audubon property for years. Actually, he's retiring this year, and he's going to help him do it the right ways.
Oh, that's great. And Mayor Canosa, I heard you saying somebody was retiring from the planning board. Who was that?
Dorothy Pollock, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And the last thing, well, I do want to say that you were talking about the 3 developments, just very briefly, Essex, Equinet, and Minebrook. I know I've spoken to this before to the council. And I just want to say again that the size of the proposed developments, they're still all quite hefty. And each of the private developments are big visioned, and that's okay, but they are still on small lots. And for me, I don't think it's unreasonable for us to keep a reasonable scale in mind. And I'll say that to the planning board again, and I'm just saying it to you again. And so I hope you'll keep that in mind. Because from my perspective, it's okay for developers to work with us and the town's vision, rather than automatically rezoning and making a lot of allowances that may affect us as we go forward. So I just wanted to say that. And then the last point or question I have is about holiday decor in the town. So I don't know who does that, hanging up wreaths and such, but since we're extending the gateways to the town all the way down to like the quarry, because soon we'll have an affordable housing there, and we have the eye doctor, and I don't know if it's still Dr. Snochter down there, and then the borough, the borough hall is there, and then all the way on the other end to the Walgreens. But then you reminded me in council tonight about Heartworks. So is it possible for us to consider, I don't know if we have to fundraise, I don't know who's in charge of that, but extending the holiday greeting really to both of those gateways on the north and south end of town?
Depends on having the power source at the.
Well, one of the things, the wreaths, those lighted wreaths, that's done by a private citizen, believe it or not.
And they're powered, they're just outlets directly on the deck.
Yeah, and they're only on those decorative lampposts because they have electric, and they don't go all the way down both ends of it. And that was a very expensive project, putting those lampposts in. We have talked about, at some point, continuing to add those lampposts because we've extended the downtown area?
Just to be a little bit of not to be too negative, but I just want to say we are just doing everything we can to get the leaves up in the neighborhood before
The first
the heart of the holidays, because there's no place to park in some places. And
Yeah.
so, all the effort, really what we can spare is we're just trying to beat that clock.
Yeah, but I mean, it is a long-term goal. It's just gonna take some time to really extend that whole look down to the both ends. But yeah, it's a good point. Olivia, did you want to address that? I see you up there.
Hi, yeah, I mean, obviously access to power is the number one and making the whole community uniform. But from our visits at recent conferences and from mailing that I get very frequently, each fixture that's similar to a lit wreath like that, or if it's even something different, like just the design or whatever, they're upwards of $500 or $600 a piece for like the smaller ones. So we have to consider that in the process too. Like if we have another 30 lampposts, like what is that going to end up costing us? And yes, likely things like that would be fundraising. That might be through downtown Bernardsville, a combination of all of it. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into that. And we have certainly talked about that being an option. But again, access to power is the number one, and making sure that it's all consistently looking the same throughout all areas of town, because we really want to unify the community as much as possible. We're kind of tired, and I'm sure a lot of other folks are too, of the idea of like downtown being just all cut square. I mean, our downtown is the entire commercial district, not very big. And so we want to really make it inclusive of one community as much as possible. And something like lampposts and decorations, like you're mentioning, Kathy, are a great example of that, but it's a little bit bigger of a project than just simply getting more decorations. So in time, it's on our radar as much as it's on the borough's radar. So in time, hopefully it will happen. If anyone knows of any grants that are available or coming around, we're always happy to work on writing some. So one day we'll get there.
Well, good. I'm glad it's on everybody's radar.
I can't mention on our, the recreation plan is on the website. It's a little confusing. If you go under government master plans, it doesn't, it's called it's got an abbreviation. So under the master plans, it says Bernardsville Final OSRP, which is Open Space Recreation Plan.
Got it.
Naming of that.
Can you write that out? So
Yeah.
yeah. No,
Yeah, that's what.
That's not fine.
no, you know, it's not, no.
Kathy, the information that you wanted isn't finalized, so that is not on there.
But
Where the
yeah,
pavilion location is.
this is a kind of an overview of the whole study that we did.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Some parks, they laid out concepts, but for others, they just said what the priorities are without.
Yeah. I think that's what.
And then just one final comment. I think that for a young man like Mr. McQueen, a 5-minute lead is a rather large handicap.
You haven't seen my.
All right.
Thank you, Catherine. I forgot to mention today, Olivia, Leah, and I decorated the downtown Bernardsville tree at the Festival of Trees over at the Environmental Center. And it's a beautiful thing they do there, and they haven't done it through COVID, and they brought it back this year. And it's, if you know organizations that might want to participate, or it's well worth going to see. And you'll love the tree we did. It's all orange and blue for the downtown Bernardsville colors. But yeah, it's really, really impressive what people have done with those trees. Okay, any new business? Oh, we're done. Or did you want to start? I'm
Just a
sorry.
little background.
Yes.
Jay was so good about bringing up with the environmental commission, had spoke to him, and to clarify, we're talking about properties downtown. And the three that the environmental commission is much more concerned about because of proximity to streets. The 106 Minebrook, 25 Claremont that isn't even there yet. That's where 56 degrees used to be. And then 55 Claremont, because they all border on the stream. And as you all know, the plan that's approved, the plan is not the right word, but the ordinance associated with all downtown, you're allowed to build on 90% of the properties. Like Bessie's property, Equinet's property are only at about 50% right now. So the amount of impervious coverage is increasing substantially in the downtown adjacent to the brooks. So that's where we have concern, and Jay understands with stormwater. And like he talks about, cumulative minors become a major. Just because it's two separate houses, it would be. And the distinction of what major requires on a stormwater plan is they have to put in green infrastructure. They have to use porous asphalt. They have to use red. And we were very disappointed where, and Bob rightly is still not 100% on the calculation that it is a minor. He's still working on those last 400 or 500 square feet of sidewalk and right of way. And that's where Bob gets paid. But for us to remind builders, planning board members that when you're doing new construction, porous asphalt costs exactly the same as standard asphalt. There isn't a cost factor. There isn't really a maintenance to redo things. There's a big difference, but it's basically misconception and perception. So thank you. We'd like to keep flooding out of the station's lower level, etc. We don't like having our burgers in there.
Yes. Yeah, no, and I really appreciate the environmental commission being involved in the planning process. I think it's a key factor that needs to be considered. So I'm glad you're paying attention and speaking up.
I think this is a global statement too, and I'm saying this for council. You know, I know that the initial discussions about downtown plans happened before anyone sitting here. My personal opinion, I'm not a fan of changing the rules sort of midstream on folks. That there, and I said this the other end of the planning board, someone brought up the concept of density, right? If there are additional considerations that we need to take as a council, we should take them as a council globally. I don't think we should be in the business of changing the rules for individual properties. So if we're going to think about it, I think we should think about it collectively. And then that statement goes to your concerns about the environmental stuff too.
Yeah, no, I agree. Bullet point I'd make on that is just asking for the help of, if there's a way to do it where it's cost neutral and we can encourage the builder, I completely agree with you though. You can't change the rules. If that's what they're expecting, we got to follow that, but follow what the rules are. But if there's any way we can encourage people to start thinking in ways.
We also
I guess-
have to take, we also take a look at unintended consequences of the 90% coverage in the downtown area.
Well, that was purposeful though.
I understand it was purposeful, but there's unintended consequences to that, even though that was purposeful. And I think that those consequences have to be looked at and mitigated, and maybe that has to be looked at.
Well, I think for this, I think one of the first things that we can do as a council, we've gone downstream on some of this, right? And many of these ideas weren't ours. Look at them collectively for everything from density to traffic to environmental impact and see, are there things that we, John Zabel said at one meeting, to be right. You put master plans in place, basically the best thinking between them along the way.
I'm just saying, I think tweaking is necessary.
Yeah, well, there are no, one of the things that was pointed out to me, there are no density controls on the zone.
Well, the density control, and we've gone down this conversation many times with Mr. Zabo, was based on coverage and height. So based on square foot and height, you de facto control density, if that makes sense, right? But maybe that's not right as we've gone downstream. And I think that's something.
I think that's bearing out.
But that's how it is.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the way it was done. I'm just saying, now that we know the different problems that are totalized, we have to take a look at it and maybe, reevaluate.
Yeah.
But to Kathy's point, I think we can recommend as if they use porous asphalt instead of regular.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't know if that was brought up as one of the recommendations for this builder. I know you make many of them.
It went from the original comments. Good. All right. I thought we. Oh.
Yeah, I just wanted to build on what Kathy's been saying, and also Diane. And on to Chad, to your point, I understand you don't change the rules midstream on a development that is already underway and under certain guidelines and ordinances. But now that we have an ordinance and we're seeing issues with it, maybe we do have to look at possibly tweaking or changing that ordinance. Another thing I wanted to bring up, we do have impervious coverage, and a lot of these lots are small and they're on the streams. But the other factor that's not taken into account in terms of the amount of building that you can do on a given lot is slope. Now, if you've got a dead flat lot in the middle of town that's already developed to 100%, as many of our commercial properties probably are because they predate any zoning at all, and now we're kind of mirroring that with extension of the commercial zoning, versus a lot like 25 Mill, no, it's not 25, but 1 Mill or wherever it is, right in the corner of Mill and Claremont. That lot is, and the two next to it are sitting on, essentially on a cliff, and they're allowed to develop to the same degree as someone would be allowed to develop on a dead flat lot that's nowhere near the stream. And that is something that I think we should take into account if we're going to take another look at ordinances and say, well, there is a difference between a lot that has a stream or a river running through it that's on a cliff essentially, and one that's flat. Just from a water protection perspective, because this is the water that everyone relies on, downstream and right here and into the groundwater, etc. You know, we've only got what we've got, and it's up to all of us to protect it.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't I remember John Sable explaining it in detail to us at the last meeting about this, how the regulations would disallow developing things in the
They do. That's, I didn't want to.
Yeah.
The DEP,
So maybe
that
that's-
particular lot is can't have one because of
So
the.
what he was saying, by definition of that challenge, it sets them up for a variance under a hardship case. So it meets one of the criteria for why you grant a variance to move a building up or stretch it, horizontally.
Because of that situation,
Right.
right, the way it sits on the property, yeah. Yeah,
But
the
it wouldn't
DEP
cover
is,
more. It would
no.
just move
Yes.
closer to
Right.
the stream
Right.
instead of being closer to the stream.
right,
Which
yeah,
makes sense.
okay.
All right.
Well, I will close the.
Can I just add one quick point? Yeah, I just feel like we should look at, if you have slopes of 50% on your property, that should be subtracted from the area of potential development to the 90% level, or 80 or 70 or 60 or 50, depending on the zone. That truly slopes that shouldn't be disturbed should not be calculated as part of the land mass that you're working with from an environmental perspective.
And Carrie, if I can add to that, it's just, I know Mr. Zaber had talked about the hardship, but as a developer, you go in and you see the property, you know what the property looks like. And so I don't think that's a hardship. You understand what it is. You may want to develop in a certain way, but the flood maps exist. They're available to everyone to see. The riparian maps are there. They're available to people. That's not a hardship. If I understand it correctly, that's not a hardship.
These are really questions for the planner or the planning board, really. But yeah, they're good points. Thank you.
Well,
Okay.
Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else? We good? All right, I will close the public session. We do have executive session. Are we coming back out or not?
I don't have anything on this.
Yeah, we have a couple of things, but no reason.
No one's gonna come back out. All right, thank you for sitting through this. It's always nice to
You move to
people
close?
today. You have a motion.
I'll move to close.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you all.